Assalamu alaikum. We continue with the Surah At-Tawbah. Now we are at verse number 8. Perhaps number 9. We finish at number 8 and now we're going to continue with number 9. And I think from now on I will go a lot faster than this because my intention here is not to go into details of the entire surah. This is not something I intend or anticipate to do because my focus was specifically to talk about the notion of Al-Jyzia, as I have mentioned at the beginning of the series of these videos. So basically, let's just continue very quickly right now. Number 9 moves on by saying that, and they traded away Allah's revelations for a cheap price and barred others from His path. Evil is what they used to do. They're just warning the Muslims, or at least telling the Muslims what their motivations are, meaning the idol worshippers or the enemies of Islam. And that particular specific group who have been actively undermining Islam and the message of Islam in Arabian Peninsula, in Mecca, particularly in Medina. So God is telling the Muslims the motives of these groups. What are their motives? It's all about materialistic world, worldly things, money, prestige, power, influence, what have you. They traded away Allah's revelations for a cheap price. It's very clear. There's no ambiguity about this, and this particular behavior of many enemies of the truth until today very prevalent in the world. We know that people will trade goodness with evil, and I think it's quite clear. I don't need to go into details. And also it goes on by warning the Muslims, giving the Muslims a good idea what kind of people are these people, so that they would be alerted, they would be aware of them, and they should take precautions at any given time. And that is a message for us today, where it says, those people, the idol worshippers or the enemies of the truth, says, towards a believer, they respect neither kinship nor treaty. These are the offenders. Basically, what the verse is saying, that the kind of people that we are dealing with here, that the ones who were involved in undermining the message of Islam, and there are many of them today as well. These people, they have absolutely no respect to anything. They would not necessarily respect their kinship nor any treaty they have signed with anybody, so long as it does not serve their interest. So if they have a treaty with somebody and that treaty does not serve their interest, then they would absolutely do not hesitate to walk away from the treaty and to strike it against the wall. And these kind of people are the aggressors. They are the offenders. So, but despite all that, God is telling the Muslims, these kind of people, even though they have committed this evil or that evil, there's still a chance for them to return. If they decide to return, then you are welcoming. You don't resent, you don't prevent them from doing so, you just welcome it. Rather, you must take them as your brethren in religion, as the verse states. But if they repent, meaning they change course, they return to God, they wanted to follow the truth and perform prayers and give the obligatory charity, then they are brothers in faith. We detail the revelations for people who know. That is indeed the Quran. The purpose of the Quran, when it's revealed, it just details everything, every details of life. And that is the benefit of the God's revelations. But if they violate their oaths after making a pledge, then in this particular incident, or in this kind of situation, the Muslims have to take actions. They should not let these events or situations go by without any punishment. And that's a fair thing to say. So if they violate their oath and after making a pledge and attack your faith, and not only violate, but attack, actively get involved in attacking, undermining your faith. What is faith here also? Could be also considered to be as your security, your way of living, your peace, and so on. فقاتلوا أئمة الكفر إنهم لا إيمان لهم لعلهم ينتهون. So in this case, there is a commandment upon the Muslims and a permission. It says attack and then fight the leaders of disbelief. They have no oaths, so that they may cease. This particular segment of the verse, it's very interesting. It gives the permission and asks the Muslims to basically take actions against those who break their pledge or violate their pledge, whether it be a peace treaty or any treaty you have, so that you would think that they would honor and respect your integrity of life. But when they stab you in the back, when they violate these agreements and treaties, then God says, now you're not obliged to keep peace with them. You must fight them. Obviously, fight them based on fair basis. You don't bounce on them without any notice. It says fight them. So, meaning this probably requires letting them know that you are no longer at peace with them because they started it and so on. So there will be engagement of war between the two parties. But the interesting thing here, it did not say fight all of them, fight all the kafirs, fight everyone who is not a believer, fight everyone who is worshipping an idol. None of these statements in this particular verse. Rather, what does it say? It says fight the leaders of disbelief. And I underline here, fight the leaders of disbelief. So we as Muslims, if we are asked to fight to punish those who violate the treaties, perhaps violating a treaty may result usually to discord, may result to killing, bloodshed, and what have you, and anarchy. So there must be a punishment for that. So we are asked to fight, or the Muslims are asked to fight, not randomly, just because they are non-Muslims, or just because they are idol worshippers, or just because they are kafirs. The Quran and the Muslims are not asked to fight people based on their denominations, based on their religions. That is not acceptable. Nothing like this in this verse. Rather, it says the leaders of disbelief. So there is a specific group who are leaders, who are basically actively involved. They're probably part of a planning, supporting, logistics, and what have you. They are the brain behind such kind of a violation. These are the people the Muslims should go after, not any individual non-Muslims who are living in peace, and their main objective in life is to provide for their family. And there are millions of them, non-Muslims. So the leaders of disbelief, and we will come to know in verse 29, this is so important to pay attention to this, the leaders of disbelief. And then the Quran, following verse number 13, is just asking in a very derogative way, or in a very interrogative way. How come you don't even think about, will you not fight a people who violated their oaths and intended to expel the messenger and initiated hostilities against you? Do you fear them? It is Allah you should fear if you are believers. So the verse is talking about something very serious, not just like a violation of a treaty, on a piece of paper. You just rip it off and that's it. This is very serious offense, what they're talking about. That's why it merits fighting, violent conflict. What they have done, these people, the leaders of the disbelief, أئمة الكفر ألا تقاتلون قوما نكثوا أيمانهم وهموا بإخراج الرسول وهم بدأوكم أول مرة أتخشونهم? Do you fear them? فالله أحق أن تخشوه إن كنتم مؤمنين. So their crime was against the Muslims is targeting the head of the religion, the messenger of God. It drive the messenger of God away, intimidated him and his followers, so drove him away from his own homeland. Then he went to migrate to Medina, as we all know the story. And not only that, the reason that the Quran is asking to fight them, it's just a fair game. Why? Because the Quran says to us that these people, the leaders of this disbelief, have begun the hostilities, initiated hostilities against you. So they are the one who began. They are the one who began hostilities, began aggression, began fighting. In any society today, especially in the civilized world, so-called, in the Western world, if any country begin a war against any other country or initiate hostility against any other country, the country whom being attacked have the right to defend itself, and the entire world communities will support that. So there's nothing strange about this. Actually, this is initiation of the rules of engagement, of the conflicts. 1,400 years ago, where the world was very much tribal. But here the Quran is teaching us, teaching all of humanity, as to what to do when you are attacked. The Quran never encourages Muslims to initiate attacks. Rather, it asks the Muslims to respond to an attack, to an aggression. So here we have leaders of disbelief, those who are actively engaged in attacking the Muslims, driving the Prophet of Islam from his homeland, Mecca, and they are the one who violated the agreement, began hostilities against the Muslims. It says, أول مرة, they have initiated hostilities against you. So they started first. The Arabic was used أول مرة. The first time they had initiated the attack. So you should not fear them. Rather, you should fear Allah if you truly are believers. With this note, I will continue next for verse 14. Thank you. Until next time.